Welcome to Blog Talk Radio in high fidelity.
Welcome to the Along Came a Writer Network. Opinions expressed in our shows do not necessarily reflect those of the network. Okay, welcome to Chat Noir, Mystery and Suspense. I'm not sure what's wrong with the music I just played or the sound. My computer was dropped, and so that could be, the challenge we're facing today. But hopefully, if you can hear me, I'm Linda Kozar. I'm your host, and I will be interviewing author Sharon K. Connell in the studio in just a few short minutes. We're giving away one of her books, and it's in his presence. If you didn't enter by leaving a comment on our Facebook pages, you still have time. You can add your name, and we're going to pick a winner later this evening. So, or if you want, you can call in at this point, 516-453-5123, and ask our guest a question. Do that, and as a bonus, you'll get a double entry for calling in. Okay, my guest, Sharon K. Connell, began writing in 2005. She writes Christian romance, suspense, mystery, and drama, and has written 4 novels to date. She says she reads everything she can get her hands on about the craft of writing. She also furthers her continuing education through fellowships and associations with other writers and writing groups. She was born in Wisconsin, but only lived there for 5 days before her family moved to Illinois, where she spent most of her life. She lived in Florida for 20 years, graduating from the Pensacola Bible Institute. All right, welcome, Sharon. Welcome to Chat Noir.
Well, thank you for inviting me, Linda. It's an honor to be here.
Now you have 4 books: Paths of Righteousness, There Abideth Hope, A Very Present Help, and His Perfect Love. So far, 4 books.
Yes.
Are you okay?
So far.
Okay. So what would you say you primarily write?
Primarily,
The genre.
the genre is romance, Christian romance, suspense. But I try to put in as much mystery as I can, especially trying to keep things secret, as I did with the last book.
Now, was it hard when you first decided to write romance? Did you have kind of an idea about how to write it?
No, to be honest with you, I didn't know what I was doing. I had no idea.
Most of us don't when we start.
I had just been encouraged to write, and so I sat down and wrote. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that I actually took classes in writing.
Wow. And then you really got the bug after that.
That's right. Haven't stopped.
Now, did you were you as a child an avid reader? Did you ever dream of becoming a writer when you were a child?
No, it's really funny because I wasn't a good reader. I'm a very slow reader, and I was never encouraged to write, or not write, but read. I apparently was, for some reason, I was put into advanced reading classes in high school, and I hated it. And it wasn't until I became an adult that I really developed the desire to read good books.
Now, when you curl up with a good book, what kind of book is that? What genre is it?
Generally, it's the same genre I write, although I love British historical romance.
Okay. So what inspired you to write?
What urged me?
Yes.
Well, I hadn't thought about. I had been told forever that I should be writing. For some reason, people would just tell me, you should put that in a book. But it wasn't until after Hurricane Ivan hit Pensacola, Florida, where I was living in 2004, that I called a friend of mine who's, I refer to him as my adopted brother in England. He's also an author. And he's one of the ones who was always telling me that I need to write. But he said, after I told him my experience going through that hurricane all by myself, alone in the house, he said, you really need to write that down and put it in a book. And so I took him up on
it. So he could see that you had a raw talent, just in the way you described that. Mm-hmm.
Yes, he used to check my books. I wanted to call him my co-author, but he said no. He was proofreading my books, as he put it. I told him he was editing them, and he added a lot to my stories. And when he would read what I wrote, he was always telling me, this is as good as anything I've written or anything I've ever read. So he really encouraged me.
Very encouraging. That's awesome. So when your first book was published and you got your first copy, what was that day like for you?
Oh, floating on the ceiling. The ceiling kept me from going further. Just
like when you held your book in your hands? Yeah.
Yes, it was a dream come true.
Did you have a launch party?
The perfect book. It was the dream come true.
Well, usually the first ones, aren't. But did you have a launch party or anything like that with your first book?
No, I didn't know anything about that. I didn't have a launch party until this last book, which is the only book that was written after I've learned so much about writing. But I had a launch party for His Perfect Love, and it was great.
Well, what did you do for that, for your launch party? Because, it's funny, lots of authors have launch parties in the very beginning, but some do, with every book. And they vary, I guess it depends on what you're planning to do to market it. So what did you do special in your launch party?
Well, number one, I will be having a launch party for all the rest of them, but I did my launch party on Facebook, and I just advertised it everywhere, and we had a ball. I made it a costume party, a virtual costume party, and we just had a real good time with that.
Oh, that sounds like fun. Cool. So, who is your favorite or most memorable character in one of your books, or in a favorite book of yours?
Well, in my book, I have two favorite characters in my book, and they're both in Paths of Righteousness, which I will be rewriting into my new style. Catherine Kendall and Jacob McCloud, my hero and heroine. They're just, I don't know, I just connected with them.
Do you feel like you would be friends with them in real life if they were real?
Yes. Most
okay,
definitely.
Yeah.
I wish they were.
Yeah, it's kind of funny.
Come over and have dinner with me.
Now, when you write, when you're writing those characters, especially in a recurring in a series, it gets crazy after a while. But there are certain things, like you're writing and you want to write a certain scene in there, and you're like, no, my character would never do that. If you were doing a series with these characters, do you feel like you know them well enough to be able to say that?
Yes, but I don't write series, although my characters from previous books do show up in other books, my other books, especially the one that I just wrote in His Perfect Love. She's from the first book. And yes, I do know my characters really well.
Well, if those characters from a previous book show up in another book, then that kind of makes it a series almost. It kind
Well,
of carries it over.
loosely. It could loosely be called a series, but I don't refer to them as such. I all of my books can be read on their own. You don't need to read them in order. You don't need to know what happened in another book in order to enjoy the one you're reading.
Well, a good series
That's
is like that anyway. A good series set of books are like that anyway. You could pick up any book and not have read the previous books and still feel like it's a standalone. It's only enhanced.
Some of the books I've read in a series really did need to know information from a previous book, so that's what I was basing it on.
Okay. Well, I just think the best ones are you could just read, and not have to. I mean, it makes you want to read the other books, but you don't have to necessarily. So do you incorporate settings in your books from your real life travels at all?
Oh yes, all the time. I've visited all but 6 states in the United States. I've been in Canada and Mexico, and all of my books have had locations of places that I know well or I've visited and then went and did further research on.
Well, which one was your favorite setting?
Oh, I guess my favorite setting, the one I'm most familiar with, is of course Chicago and the surrounding area because I lived there most of my life. But I like the setting. I have a setting in Pensacola, Florida, at Fort Pickens, and I really like that one.
Well, what's not to like about Florida anyway? So
I prefer Texas.
yeah, well, it's true, but I'm fond of both of them. So co-authoring, have you ever done it or toyed with the idea? And if so,
Well, like
did
I
you love it or
said,
hate it?
I thought about, I kept telling Alan when he was going over my books and adding so many things, he'd say, you really need to do this with it. You need to put this in there. And he'd send things for me to add in if I liked it, and I added in a lot. And I thought, he should have been my co-author on the first 2 books anyway, or 3 books. And, but he, I don't think I would do a co-author. I enjoy writing too much, and I just enjoy doing it on my own.
What advice would you give to a beginning author?
Well, I think first of all, get your story down first. Don't worry about the details, grammar, sentence structure, or anything else. Just get that first draft down, then go back and read it through like you think your reader would do it, like you read books, and change things as you go then.
Yeah, I mean, there are many writers who do that, and some who write, seat of the pants style. Have you ever tried that?
I guess I'm a pantser.
Okay, but you do plan your book out first, right? So that's really not, I mean, seat of the pantser just sits
Not
there and
really.
starts writing.
No, I just sit down and I get an idea and I start it off and then I think, okay, I'm going to have to do this and I'm going to have to do that. But I don't, I've tried it. I'm not an outliner. I just go with it. And then I get it down and then I go back and that's when I go back. That's when I do my outline.
Okay, so you start off as like I'll do. I'm a seat of the pantser, but about a third of the way through the book, I know what I'm going to do. Like my characters have led me in that direction, you know,
Yeah.
and then I kind of know where I'm taking it. So that's very helpful.
Well, I know where
But
it's
I'm
going
already
to end up. With
right.
me, I
But
know
you
where I'm
know,
going to end up. But I don't necessarily know every direction I'm going to go, because sometimes my character will just start running away with it, and come up with something, and yes, of course it's me, but I like
right,
to think of it as a character.
right. But yeah, like I don't even know where I'm going to end up until I'm a third of the way, which is kind of fun, but it's also scary too. So, so do you have a favorite book or author that influenced you growing up, or someone you would like to emulate?
Well, not growing up, like I said, I wasn't encouraged to read, and I was a slow reader, so I really didn't like it. But when I started really reading as an adult, um, I read a few things here. Really didn't know what I liked. And then my pastor started talking about The Hobbit all the time. He would bring up the hobbits as illustrations all the time. And I thought, I really need to read this book. So I read it, and I went through The Hobbit and the 3 Lord of the Rings books twice at the same time, because I was reading it. I started out reading it to my daughter, and I got so involved in it that I would read ahead. So
Oh
I
yeah.
wound up reading all of them twice at the same time, twice, through. And when J.R.R. Tolkien to me is a genius, and I don't want to write like him, but I hope I write as well as him.
Well, I mean, you have a lot of company and people who do it think that well of Jared Tolkien. It's okay. That's cool. Now, is there a genre you would never read? Because I
Well,
mean,
I don't read what they labeled adult fiction, which to me is a mislabel. But I don't read that, and I don't read erotica. I really don't read science fiction, although I have read 2 or 3 things. But it's not just something that I would pick up off the shelf.
well, sci-fi and fantasy all fall under speculative fiction now. So if you've read Tolkien, you've read spec fic.
Well,
But
yes, I think Tolkien is in
the other
a category all himself. But I do like some fantasy, and I have written some short story fantasy.
okay, and but is there one you'd never read? Like I always said I wouldn't read romance, and then of course I read it. There's always, or I would never write romance. I would never write this or that, and of course I always wind up writing it.
As long as it's a good, clean read, I might read it.
Okay, all right.
I don't like horror. I don't like horror at all. I'm not fond of paranormal.
Yeah, that's not my favorite. I don't read that kind of stuff either. But now, do you hate, or have you ever hated one of your characters?
Oh yes, same book as my favorite characters, Paths of Righteousness. Matthew Pierce. When I had to introduce a villain, I tried to think of what I could not stand in people.
Do you ever base your villain on real life?
Pardon?
Do you ever base your villains on real life people?
No, I try not to do that.
Because we always joke that, be careful or you'll wind up in my mouth. Yeah.
I take some characteristics, from people, but I don't try to make any of my characters into someone I know.
Oh, or you take pieces, that person who was rude to you in the checkout line, or a teacher who was just awful, and you kind of like meld them together to make them into the villain. I don't see anything wrong with that because they're not recognizable anymore.
Well, if people do that, that's up to them. But when I want a character, I just decide what characteristics I want in that person, and I go with that. And they're not to resemble anyone in particular I know.
What do you do? Let's move on to marketing. What do you do to market your books?
Oh, I try to do everything I can. I'm on a strict budget, so I have to be inventive. I do a lot of social media blurbs every day. And I try to talk my books up wherever I can. I have, someone came up with a suggestion. One of my editor, as a matter of fact, came up with a suggestion on one of her writing tips to make little blurbs on little pieces of paper that you can hand out, or you can leave on a counter, or when you go shopping, you can hand it out. So I do that. I have business cards made up that I give out. I have bookmarks that I give out. Mm-hmm. And I have interviews.
Yeah, well, it sort of falls on authors to do what they really doesn't come naturally. We really enjoy writing in solitary confinement of our own doing. And marketing is really not what we envisioned as part of the package, but it really is as an author.
Most definitely.
So tell us.
And I hate sales. I cannot stand being a saleswoman.
But we really are. But it's if you have fans for your books, if you're writing what they really want to read, and you're giving them that. I don't think that they're looking forward to your book, to your next product to come out. And I think that's the best part of it. Now, so tell us about your featured book, the giveaway book. Tell us about that.
His Perfect Love. This is, it's about a girl, a young woman named Shannon. Oh, that's not my featured book. That's the one I'm working on right now. The featured book is His Perfect Love. And it's about a girl who has had kind of a rough life, even though she was from a wealthy family. And that's her background. But she made a whole lot of mistakes in her life. And she's at a point now where she's afraid of somebody that she got involved with. And she's been hiding from him. And she has this fear in the back of her mind all the time that he's going to find her. And if he does, he might want to kill her because that's the way he is. He's just not a real nice person. And so it goes off from that. She feels like she has to run all the time. And she feels, and later on in the book, you find out that she's turned her back on God a long time ago. And, just feels that God is not there for her.
And so that's your suspense book.
Life. She wants to be loved, but she doesn't trust anybody.
Yeah, because she's on the run. Okay. All right. Well, readers will be intrigued by that. So before we go into our lightning round, because believe it or not, we only have 5 minutes left. How can readers find you? I mean, if you wouldn't mind just kind of telling them your website. And I know I'll give them your website. It's Sharon K, middle initial K. I'm assuming there's another Sharon Connell out there because every time I see an author who puts their middle initial, that's usually the case.
Connell.
Connell.
It's
Okay,
Connell.
Sharon
Yes,
K.
the website
Connell.
is just SharonKConnell.com, all strung
Okay,
together.
and there are 2 N's and 2 L's in that last name.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Alrighty. So
And 1 R in Sharon.
okay. And all right, so they can find you on Facebook, on your personal Facebook page or your author one. And then also in the Writers and Authors Forum on Facebook, which is that that's private, isn't it? If aspiring
No,
writers
it
and
is
authors.
private. It's not private, it's public, but you have to request to join if you want to post in it.
Okay. Okay.
Anyone
And
can
so, and it's a wealth of information for aspiring
And actually,
writers.
all of my links are listed on my website.
Okay, that's good. But they can find you on
So
Twitter,
if you just go to the HTTP,
Goodreads,
website,
everything.
SharonKConnell.com. They would find all
Are
my
you
links.
Are you also on Instagram, or is because I didn't see that
No,
one.
I'm not on Instagram.
Okay, all right. So let's move on to our lightning round. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question and just answer just off the top of your head. Okay. All right. Favorite retro candy: wax lips or jawbreakers?
What did you say? What kind?
Wax lips. Remember those wax lips that used to come out around, I guess, in the fall?
Oh, yeah.
Wax lips.
Jawbreaker.
Okay, jawbreaker. Yeah, because those wax lips weren't any good after you start chewing them.
No.
Okay. Yeah, and then of course jawbreakers. Oh boy, what can I say about those? I feel like you could easily break your jaw with those, especially the really huge ones. Okay, do you like the Okay, do you like the old Twilight Zone series or the Twilight movies?
I don't like one.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? Because I couldn't hear.
I don't like Twilight at all.
Okay, so you didn't like Twilight Zone or Twilight?
No.
Okay. Okay, do you like writing alone or in a public place?
I guess a public place.
Okay.
I'm having a little trouble
right.
hearing you.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. Okay, Tic Tacs or Mentos?
Tic Tacs.
Okay. Okay, and the age-old question, should toilet paper unroll close to the wall or in waterfall fashion?
Waterfall.
Over the top. Okay, everybody,
Right.
people, it's really funny. Everybody has a very distinct opinion on this, I never really thought it was that important an issue, but apparently it is. People.
Well, that's the way they make the holders. If they have a cover.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I know, but people have very definite opinions on this subject. Maybe not on other subjects, but this one in particular.
I know, I've seen it on Facebook before.
Yeah. Well, so do you ever do book signings? Do you have any of those coming up at all, or any speaking engagements or anything?
No, I haven't. I used to speak before I started writing. I used to speak in various groups, but I haven't since I've been an author. I don't have any book signings because I'm on a budget. It's kind of expensive to have book signings. You have to buy your books. You have to have the attachment to your phone, to take credit cards and that. So I really haven't done that because of that.
Okay. Well, we're running out of time, and I had such a fun time interviewing you, and best wishes, and just I hope that you get through this latest work in progress and get through it quickly, and so readers, please check out Sharon on her social media, check out her books, and say hi to her. Say hi to her
Well,
on
thank you
How to
very
Write Her
much,
Stalkers.
Linda.
Okay, thank you so much. Bye now.
You're welcome, and I appreciate it. Bye-bye.